Hot coffee, great conversation. These four words typify the NHCC Alumni Coffee Break experience. Hey everybody, it's Troy, the alumni guy at North Hennepin, and joining me today is Dr. Amy Jauman. She is a 96 grad of North Hennepin Community College, and she is an adjunct professor at St. Mary's University, specializing in teaching marketing and ethics. She also is the Chief Learning Officer for the National Institute for Social Media. Amy, how cool of you to join us today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So we were talking off camera a little bit. Cool conversation. Love catching up with you. But we kind of zeroed in on a great question, right? What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, well, especially since I work with a lot of people that are at that 18, 19-year-old age, they're making big decisions about their future. I loved that question. And the first thing that came to my mind when I thought back, because that was around the time I was at North Hennepin, so I also thought it was the perfect question to answer. I thought about how important it is to show up. So if you are in a class, go to class. If you're in an online course, read the discussion boards, go through, see what your classmates are talking about. If you have an interest and there's a club on campus, join that club and show up for the meetings, participate in the volunteer events, all of that. I look back at the time I've spent on a variety of college campuses and connections I've made through work and through networking, and showing up for those opportunities to learn and have conversations have been the foundation for some of the best relationships that have helped me through my personal and professional life, all the way through to today. I still have connections that I look back to it that have been a really important part of my life for literally years, decades now.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I love the question too. I love the question too. And another great question that we zeroed in on though is, with the COVID crisis and the pandemic, more and more people are working remotely, and you've got some remote tips to share with us.
Yeah. So I had a kind of an accidental introduction to working and learning remotely. And what happened was I worked for an international organization and kind of fell in love with the idea of how to help people be more effective when they were geographically dispersed. So what kinds of opportunities there were to stay connected and what helped people stay effective. So what I talk to people about is an acronym, TEC, T-E-C, and it's their technology, their education, and their communication. And giving them those kind of three things to think about and keep in mind, I hope is helpful, right? Because if we try to keep track of everything, it's overwhelming. And if we don't know where to start, then we just are kind of stuck in the mud. But if we start and look at our technology and making sure that we have the right technology or have an alternative to the ideal technology, just really figuring that out, and then smoothly transitioning over to education, making sure we know how to use that technology. So much of what we have access to for people in general, we use it to a tiny percentage of its capabilities. I'd like to share the example of I was doing some writing once, and I was doing some interviewing, and back in the days when I was doing graduate school research, I had a recorder, like a handheld thing, so I could look super professional and serious out interviewing my my candidates and collecting data. And I started this research up again, and I was looking everywhere and I couldn't find it. And I thought, oh, I don't want to go out and buy another one. And it was like a good 10 minutes of looking before it dawned on me that my phone, like everyone's phone, has an audio recorder, but we have all this stuff at our fingertips. And it's so underutilized. So now is a great time to take a step back and say, like, have I learned how to use all these tools and resources? And then communication is the last one. Especially if you came from an environment where you were what's called crash spaces, where you were seeing people every day and where you just had all of these accidental interactions that kept you connected. what are you doing in the absence of that? Like, what can you do to make sure that you are still connecting with people so that the important people in your work environment still know what you have going on, and what areas that you can use help with or help them with, and just making sure that all that stuff that used to happen without us even thinking about it, all those connections are still able to come to life in this more separated world.
Right. And two great topics that you zeroed in on, right? The need for more communication in a technology centered world as it is right now. And you're right, technology is amazing and the efficiencies created. It's great to invest. And you even shared a tip with me. So fantastic advice. I appreciate that, Amy. And I think our alum audience will love that too. And we talked about some best advice that
Mm.
you would have for our alum audience.
Yeah. So I think what I would advise alums, even current students, everybody really, is to keep learning things that bring you joy, and keep your brain engaged and excited. So I think that there's a little bit of a lull, or kind of a gigantic wet blanket on the world right now, because we're all a little bit more tired, and we don't want to take any more on. And I think sometimes we move away from adding anything to our plate. And if that feels right, that's definitely what you should do. But I know for a lot of people, kind of engaging, even if it's as simple as, a free course online, or doing something that helps you take up a skill. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to do something, and you can find a YouTube video that can teach you how to do it. That continued education can really be inspiring. So for example, for the longest time, I have been kind of eyeballing a really specific writing class, and, never really had the time. And now with the COVID-19 stuff, I'm really quite busy, especially with fundraising stuff, and lending a hand to remote work coaching and all of that. But I made the choice to make room for that class because it actually gives me energy, being able to focus on something that's just for me and something that I'm interested in. And it can actually be very energizing to kind of give that gift to yourself, even if at first glance it looks like it will just be more work and more time out of your schedule. You end up getting more back because of the boost that comes with
Exactly. Dr. Amy Jauman, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for sharing your tips and advice. So cool to visit with you, and just appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you. It was great to chat.
Absolutely. And hey, alumni, if you're interested in doing an interview on NHCC's Alumni Coffee Break, let us know. Contact information at the end of the slide. Until next Tuesday or Thursday, it's Troy Nellis signing off. Have a great day.